Now we do it, you know what I'm saying? Put the content out, let's go. Alright, feed these hungry Linux and Steam Deck users, boy. Oh, by the way, hello viewers, me again. Another beautiful day. Yep, hope your five senses work, health and strength is good. Or, excellent. Alright, let's see, what do we got here? Researchers discover Bootkitty, the first UEFI bootkit for Linux. The malware is in a proof of concept phase, but further refinements could prove a threat. Says here in a nutshell, a serendipitous discovery, that was a big word, led to a new warning of threats against Linux. The open source platform is becoming an increasingly tasty target for cyber criminals, and malware writers are now looking to get the lowest level of kernel as they already have on Windows. Bootkitty is a new and concerning malware that target Linux systems. ESET analysts recently discovered the Bootkit in a previous unknown UEFI application, and then it says in parentheses bootkit.efi, that someone uploaded to Virus Total. While not yet complete, Bootkitty is this. Whoops, I missed that here. Bootkitty is described as the first UEFI bootkit for Linux that researchers have found. Bootkitty, like Black Lotus, are a particular kind of malware designed to infect the startup phase of the operating system. They conceal their presence and essentially obtain total control of the OS and user application by replacing, compromising, and significantly changing the original bootloader or boot process. The European researcher confirmed that Bootkitty target Linux, although it only works against specific Ubuntu distro. The same upload on Virus Total use a self-designed security certificate, which means it will not run on UEFI system protected by controversial secure boot features. However, there is nothing to stop determined hackers from refining the malware. It says here Bootkitty includes specific routines to subvert many functions in the UEFI firmware, the Linux kernel, and the grub bootloader. Bootkitty can theoretically boot the Linux kernel seamlessly, even with secure boot activated, after which it injects itself into the program process upon system launch. Says here, however, Bootkitty doesn't work as intended despite its apparent complexity. ESET said the Bootkit contains many artifacts and rough features, which suggests the malware author are still working on its code. The researchers also discover a possible related kernel module named BC Dropper, designed to deploy ELF Linux program used for loading additional kernel modules. And then it says, even though it is still in its proof of concept stage, Bootkitty is an interesting development in the UEFI threat landscape. Bootkit and UEFI rootkits have traditionally target only Windows system, but Linux platforms are now widespread enough to become an enticing target. The security community should prepare for future threats, ESET's warned. Okay, you network security expert on Linux, get busy. Anyway, got 7 comments here. Let's see what these debaters are talking about. Let's see. Mr. Vital said this. I can almost see Linus shed white hair over this. And then Tracker said that Trackerzod said this. I still think UEFI was a huge mistake. And Raz said this. There's a reason enterprise machines still use a BIOS. Yeah, basic input-output system. Then Birdie said this. Servers have been UEFI way before home machines were, and it's been their default boot environment for a long time now. What enterprise machine do you know that don't use UEFI today? Genuinely curious. And then who's this? Raz said this. So I might have a bit of bias, but I like to buy old server hardwares for my home lab, and all of them have had what I call a traditional BIOS. I do not work in the enterprise space of my stuff. Is from 2018 to 2020, so maybe I'm interacting with legacy support. That said, I still feel the UEFI is unnecessary in its own way. Most of my stuff is Xenon hardware, so I'm going to assume that enterprise stuff is more BIOS than UEFI. I don't have a problem with it being wrong. I don't have a problem with being wrong. That's what he said. If I'm wrong, I actually would like to be corrected on this. Maybe what I'm using is UEFI and just looks like a BIOS. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I also didn't invest in a home lab to be wrong. So if I'm approaching the software incorrectly, I did very much like to know. And then see, who is this? Birdie said this. Exactly that. UEFI was introduced into servers, Dell, HP, etc. back in 2005, 2006. You can boot into an operating system using legacy BIOS mode, but fundamentally it's been UEFI for 20 years. Now on servers, on your home motherboard, it's been UEFI since Windows 10. There are UEFI motherboard at Windows Vista and Windows 7 launch, but it took a while for it to become the norm. There's certain features in Windows, and then he said in parentheses, mostly all security related, that simply don't work when using a legacy BIOS mode. I don't think Windows 11 can even be boot in legacy BIOS mode. And then who is this? Aaron said this. For example, most system firmware written by Aptoy is still modeled after the legacy BIOS interface, even today. But almost everything Aptoy has written since 2012 has been UEFI too. Furthermore, they remain the conventional BIOS-like user interface, even over serial ports rather than a computer monitor. They didn't bother to make it flashy and pretty. When viewed on a monitor, I hate that, saying nothing about what kind of firmware interface it provides. And that is that. So yeah, you Linux system administrators, network security, network experts, cyber security, cloud security, yeah, get busy. You can't leave Linux unprotected. Gotta protect it. So yeah. Bootkitty. Yeah, these hackers are coming up with all kind of all kind of threats, man. To push the. I mean, in some ways, like Linux, Windows, they benefit from this because now they have to step their game up, knowing that they're being pushed to come out with something new to battle the threats. I guess you could say that's why Microsoft made the TPM support for Windows 11. Just saying. But anyway, yeah, another threat in the world of computers, but this time it's on Linux. And if you remember, like a week or two back, I was doing some videos on this. I did an article on this on our Windows, about security threats. So yeah, 2025. This is 2024. 2025 is going to bring some new threats. So you Linux network administrators, security experts, cloud security experts. Yeah, prepare yourself. Anyway, you need to be on defense. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, the Star Wars Star Trek.